moment. It's thinking. We're live. Allegedly. Hello, YouTube. Hello, Twitch.
It is thinking. Hello,
We're
everybody.
back.
We are. I mean, we should be back. We said we'd be back. How's it going?
we come back every week.
We try to.
I'm okay. I'm a little like under the weathery kind of thing. So my voice is a little screwed up, but I'm like not sick, but I have like some kind of head thing. So yeah, it's perfect for audio video.
Honestly, you sound exactly the same. If you didn't tell me you were not feeling well, I wouldn't have noticed. Your
Hell
hardware's
yeah.
that good.
Yeah, right. It's AI.
Yeah, post process your voice.
Yeah, so we're chatting today about Anthropic's latest release with Mythos and Fable, Claude 5 alphabet soup marketing terms.
Yeah, no one knows how to name things.
I know, right? Well, it's like Claude Opus 4.8,
Yeah,
Claude
4.1
Mythos
or
5,
2.
Claude Mythos 4, Claude Mythos preview, Claude
Right.
Fable 5 all of a sudden comes out of nowhere. I mean, I kind of understand their naming schemes a little bit, but like I don't know. It's make it easier for the customer.
I mean,
Um,
we knew that was a problem ever since the early GPT 2
yeah,
3.5 days, right? Yeah.
right. Where it's I know. So do better. But before we jump into that, we usually have a little pre-talk, and we haven't pre-talked what our experiences are yet, other than just kind of sharing some notes. So
Mhm.
I guess preview for the next segment, but we will talk about our what has it been a little over 48 hours of
Has
release,
it been?
maybe
It feels
maybe
it
3
feels longer
days.
than that for some reason. Oh yeah, okay, that sounds about
I
right.
don't know.
It's been a few days, yes, yeah, since the
Yeah.
release of
I've
Fable.
been super head down in it, so for the whole time. We could talk about that a
Mm,
little bit because I've definitely token maxed, I guess is a thing people talk about.
yes.
I won. I've gotten like over 10x value out of my subscription in 4 days. So
Yeah, yeah. Token max, for those who are not familiar with it, it's the idea of using whatever tokens you're allotted if you're on a subscription, like just trying to do whatever you can to maximize that amount. Um, yeah. So how are your impressions of Mythos, or I should say Fable? So
yeah.
Mythos is like the big model that Claude or that Anthropic had mentioned that they were not going to release. They gave it to a select
Yeah.
group of people, and then they released Fable, which is supposedly a pared down version of Mythos, but
It's
it's sort of like a
lobotomized.
teaser. Yeah,
It
it's like a
wouldn't let me
teaser
make
of what's Mythos.
bioweapons.
Actually, that is one thing I do want to talk about when it comes to this model, but we should
Yeah.
talk about that after the initial
Yeah.
impressions of what the model's like.
I want to wait though. So I guess maybe make this real easy for people. The claims have been vast and the claims
Sure.
did not match the vastness, but that doesn't mean it's not good. But before
Right.
we do that, we were trying to make I use AI to make screenshots. I was
Oh,
using Gemini, and I really want to
nice.
illustrate this as like all of the hype about AI is going to take your job. Our last live stream slash podcast, we got a lot of feedback about people telling us we're shilling for AI and shit. I use AI all the time. I built AI. I'm not shilling for it. I'm like, here. So here's a little peek behind the curtain. And yes, I use AI for thumbnails. And no, I don't care.
Surprise.
I know, right? Surprise. So I gave it a very quick. This is Nano Banana and Gemini something. I don't know
Google's
the
image
details.
generation model.
Google's
Right.
image generator. So I just gave it a really quick prompt. Got this back. I have a gem, which is a Google grounding mechanism to give it. So there's more data going in behind the scenes on this. Nothing super important, but it gave me this kind of stock photo-y kind of thing. I liked the vibe of it. So I was like, hey, let's, replace the two people with us. So here's where I say replace the man with the beard. And, so Nathan and I, let's get him in there. I tend to find like if a person in the photo has a beard and you're replacing it with a person that either has a beard and doesn't, beard to beard works a little bit better than non-beard to beard.
Beard to beard.
I'm
It's a
coining
visual anchor.
all
Yeah.
sorts of new terms today. And so then we got this, which is I guess Nathan and I on the beach. So we went
For
from
some
literally
reason.
this. I gave it a couple headshots of us and say, hey, replace the people in this photo, something I do all the time. And then we got totally fucking random beach photo, which good job.
Yeah.
So the way that I deal with these hallucinations is so we start over with a whole nother thing. So I feed it that image that I kind of liked, gave it, and I said, okay, replace the two people. And Nano Banana 2 point whatever, I'm on the latest, greatest, has been billed as like the best image generator. It can track like 50 objects or whatever the marketing hype is. So this should be no problem. Like I'm not even
Mhm.
doing anything complex. I'm just saying, hey, replace the two people. We're not doing anything too crazy. Like AI is actually pretty good at this usually, except for this instance. And so here we go. So I said do that. We got Nathan kind of okay, and I'm like I was saying earlier, beard to beard is usually a little bit better. Here it just superimposed my head on the woman who was in there, which is it just looks wrong and really weird, right? So I said, okay, make the guy with the beard look like the guy, and I was
Right.
talking to Nathan, but so I wanted to swap me out for this dude, and it reverted it back. And so then I said, replace it again. And so now it got me in there, right? And it looks, I don't know, it's campy. It's AI generated. I don't really care. The thumbnail is there to be a little entertaining.
Mm.
And so then I said again, replace the woman with this guy, right? So, and then this is what we got. And so it's to put Nathan's head on the woman, and then it totally forgot me. And this is something I've seen happen a lot with Gemini, where it'll revert silently. Like if you've ever used Photoshop, it's like a layer idea, and it'll revert back to the
Mhm.
layer. So then this is my process again. This was literally done moments ago for folks just tuning in. We're talking about how AI is not going to take your job and is nowhere close to replacing people. So then I took the one with me that looks okay, and then again, let's replace the woman with this man, and then we got kind of this, and I think this is what we printed. It was close enough.
Mm.
So we went from beach photo to
That was my favorite.
better. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a little interlude, but to get to the meat of it and the title of the stream, I've been using Mythos Fable 5.0 since it came out
Mm.
days ago, 3 days ago, something like that. Um as you were saying earlier, Anthropic sold the shit out of this. They were really making it sound like this is going to replace everything. They've had a private preview of Mythos in giving it to cybersecurity firms, claiming it's going to end cybersecurity and the whole world's over and all this kind of nonsense. And so now we have Fable 5, which is supposed to be a lobotomized version of Mythos 5, which is supposed to end the world and end the internet. What are your
Did they say
impressions?
that did they say Mythos had a number after? I thought it was just Mythos itself. It was
Oh
just like
no,
the
the
Mythos.
Mythos preview model is claimed to be different than Mythos 5, but it's apparently a new classification of models. So it's not clear
Ah,
to me if
interesting.
Fable is like a subversion of the
Right.
Mythos model architecture or whatever, or if it's just a lobotomized version.
Yeah, just a stripped down. Right, right.
They
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
play with both, and they're not really clear. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, we had a few chats about this. I thought it was okay. It does pretty well with a few issues that. So I primarily use Opus for the most part, 4.8. I kind of tinker around with efforts, but I usually find a nice balance. And there were some projects that Opus 4.8 on extra high effort was struggling a little bit in the sense of it
Yeah,
kept getting things wrong, and I'd correct it, and it would still wouldn't sort of quote unquote get it. But then I threw Fable 5 at it with, I think the default was high effort, and
yeah.
it was able to figure it out. It does take quite a bit longer, like it churns a little bit before it actually figures anything out. But for the most part, I haven't seen any misdirection with Fable's
Mm,
choices so
mhm.
far. So I'm sort of like, yeah, okay, this is better. I wouldn't say it's game changing, but it was nice to see the improvement,
Yeah,
which I had seen with previous. Um, I don't know if you'd call them foundation releases, but with 4.8 was another big jump, or I wouldn't say big, but it was like a step change where I noticed
yeah.
that 4.6 couldn't do stuff and 4.8 could. So slowly seeing that. But we had a side chat where I was like, yeah, if you had given someone a task and or you'd given a model a task, I don't know that someone could really identify whether it was Fable 5 or Opus 4.8. And then you made the nice, I think, very fair point of, yeah, just look at the token usage and you'll
Yeah,
find
I don't
out.
need to look at the output, I just need to look at the tokens.
Yeah.
Yeah. I largely agree with you. I think it really depends how you use it. And so I've spent the last 3 days doing coding refactors, security audits, triggering the security audit warning the land. You're not supposed to be able to use it for like building hacks and shit. And I was just like, can you just look at my code and tell me if there's problems? And
Yeah,
it was
yeah,
like, nah, you can't engineer bioweapons or hack stuff. And I was like, great, I'm not trying to do that. I just want people to not hack my stuff.
right.
So that was really frustrating. I'm understanding that they have changed the language and stuff a little bit and made it a little bit more transparent as to what's going on.
In the past day or so, yeah.
Yeah. So that was a little disappointing. And apparently it defaults to Opus 4.8 for that anyway.
Right. Yeah.
Um, and I've done a lot of that. I have web stuff, I have backend stuff, I have app stuff for iOS across the whole gambit. I've done a little bit of DevOpsy stuff with it too, just to kind of
Yeah.
see like how well it actually works in the world. And yeah, Opus 4.8 to Fable 5, uh, not overly different. I can't really
Mhm.
say that I'm seeing for like a general task a massive improvement. The claims from Anthropic are that Fable 5 on high does better than Opus 4.8 or other Opus models than on high or extreme or ultimate. There's a whole
Yeah.
bad branding behind that too.
Whatever. I think it's, yeah, it's a high, extra high max, and yeah,
Yeah, it's thinking
effort.
power, it's thinking ability. It's probably just more memory allocation. It might be using different nets to like process. Like they're not really clear on how it
Checking on its
is
sticking. Yeah,
better
yeah. Right.
or not. And then it's also agent use. And so,
Yeah.
that's
And
where
tool
I think
use. Yeah.
yeah, and I think that's where for me it got really, really different, was observing, um, Fable, Mythos, whatever we wanna call it, with, agent swarms and, like,
Mhm.
orchestration was
Yeah,
quite
yeah.
impressive.
I like your call it on use case. I think I kind of just skimmed over that, but a lot of the
Mhm.
issues that I had experienced with Opus 4.8 were usually more conceptual. So, like, for a more concrete example, like an electrical circuit where it's trying to convert all the components into graphs and understanding how that works. Opus struggled a little bit with redesigning circuits. Fable did much
Yeah,
better. And then architecture layouts, so floor plans, which are also like node and graph
yeah.
based. But Fable also did really, really good on that as well, where I couldn't find anything that would even come close to coming up with something that looked like a circuit
Yeah,
or a
like
floor plan.
one-shotting or whatever,
Yeah, yeah, right, right. I
yeah, I
mean, giving it the right
experiment
tools as well, but yeah,
yeah, and I experimented with, high and extreme or X high and ultra code marathon, whatever the
yeah,
hell, like,
yeah.
um, and I find high is really good for it's better than Opus. I don't know that it's worth the cost, like, if you're
Mhm.
having to pay per use, um, for a what I would consider how most people use AI, it's not worth it. You can get just as
Yeah,
good of a
I
result from
yeah,
Opus.
that's a good
Yeah.
call out too. I think I agree with that. It's probably more reserved for issues where you kind of really need to jump over that little hurdle.
And expertise, right? So, and I
Yes.
guess before I hit that, I wanted to talk through to just the, um well, let's just do that. So expertise, so it's and Anthropic does a pretty good job describing this in their, like, thinking documentation or something, whatever they call it. It explains what low, medium, high, X high,
Oh, the
and
effort. Yeah,
ultra
the effort level. They call it the effort level. Yeah.
yeah, mean, and the expertise for me is, I think it kind of breaks down into 2 things. It's the level of complexity that you're actually dealing with, not perceived complexity. So I think a lot of people are like, "Oh, this is really hard," and it turns out it's really
Mm,
not. It's really hard to describe what that means. And, like, even their documentation kind of talks about, like, complexity. If you're doing a complex thing, use this mode. Well, what is complexity? If you don't have coding experience or engineering experience, you don't know. right? You just
Mm.
don't.
Right,
Sorry.
exactly.
So
Yeah.
probably
I
you just stay
mean,
on
that
high
applies for,
or
yeah.
use another
Yeah,
model.
right.
If you are trying to do something really complex, I found that Fable does a lot better job breaking through problems that Opus would struggle on or just not work. So it's
Mhm.
better
I
model.
agree with that. Yeah.
And I think it really, really, well, I don't think, I know it has done a much, much better job implementing complex code or complex changes
Mhm.
that either span the single surface stack of what you're doing or integrated things. It does a much better job of sussing out edge cases and understanding if you're implementing a new feature and you're like saying that you're doing a bunch of API calls or something, or using a bunch of different data that isn't in the normal shape, it does a much, much better job at figuring out how to deal with that the right way the first time. Like it's not perfect by far. I've
Yeah.
had a lot of weird issues with it, but like it'll get so much farther than Opus ever could. Um, where I think it really hits the expertise level is being able to do incredibly complex planning documents. So like I said earlier, like the way most people use AI, the way most people use AI is like a paragraph or two of information or maybe a few sentences. That's not where this model really
Mm.
excels. This model really excels at well, a real life example, I guess, is I refactored the entire UI of a product I'm working on. It's not out yet, but it's a coding platform, shockingly enough, and I built this kind of crappy UI with it because I was like, I need to see what's working, and I was like, it really sucks, and I need to fix it. And so this was a test case of just like I was like, hey, I gave it a prompt, just, a few paragraphs. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was something to the tune of like, let's really polish this UI. These are the types of users I'm working on, and basically, like as a product manager, I come back to my engineering team, and be like, this UI sucks.
Yeah.
And like design would be like, yeah, we don't have time to like go through the full, or we need to do something different before we go through a whole design thing. So it's like, okay, let's make it better. The the plan that it built up was like incredible. It was like weeks of design research compiled into some like lightweight UI framing and testing and identifying what areas needed to change and when. And then it broke it out into like, I think it was 5 phases.
Mm.
And the
Yeah,
interesting
yeah, I've seen
thing,
that. I've seen like 7
yeah,
phases. Yeah.
yeah, the interesting thing though is that it planned the first phase as basically code cleanup and architecture prep. That was
Mm.
new. I've not seen Opus really do that, where it was just kinda like, "It's kinda shitty and we need to just make it better before we start
Ah,
changing stuff."
ah. Oh, okay, okay. So that's interesting. I've seen
Yeah,
different workflows for this. You could either do that first before you start a task, or do it at the end of the previous task, right?
yeah,
So when you have an agent swarm build something, you have one phase that tightens it up, either finds duplicates, removes,
yeah.
or kind of condenses it down. So the next phase, yeah, either way. But I do think that's an overlooked step. But yeah, good
Yeah,
call.
no, and I would incorporate that in the future. I find though that, refactoring current code to make it better and then building upon that is challenging for current models and engineers
And
just in
people,
general.
and
It's a
I was
hard
gonna
thing
say
to do.
people,
Yeah.
and people, and people. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I think that was kind of a new unlock that I saw that was like really obvious when I saw it, but not really obvious unless you're kind of looking for it. And then it broke it out into phases. And then what it did was I had it implement it, right? I used Uber code mode or whatever the hell all the token burn goes.
Yeah, yeah,
And
Max. Yeah.
yeah, and it did it, so it spawned, several dozen agents to get it done, doing various things, actually coding, doing, UI tests, doing code checks, all the kind of engineering stuff. Opus does this too, but not as
Mhm.
good, right? Like it
Mm.
it I kind of one-shotted it. I would just like, I looked at the plan, and the plan was like probably 40 pages, 30 pages. It was a
Whoa.
lot.
What
And
were you asking it to do? Build a
I
city?
rebuilt the entire UI of my coding
Yeah.
platform, right? So
Oh, interesting.
and so there's a lot of different interactions. There's a lot of I mean, I guess if you visualize VS Code, there's a lot going
Yeah.
on in those windows. And to try to make it easy, intuitive, and make sense, the the product is called Could and it is designed for people who are not coding experts or engineers to be able to build functional AI software.
Yeah,
Um,
interesting.
and there's a lot of other
It's
stuff
good.
built
Yeah,
into it other than the interface, but everything you and I would take for granted is like, what the fuck is this to somebody who doesn't do it for a living or doesn't
right.
want to learn
Yeah.
how to terminal or doesn't want to learn how to install a package. And I don't think you should have to, right? And like, yeah,
Mm,
you can kind of ask AI and yeah, you can kind of fumble through it, but you encounter all these edge cases that you just don't know about. And like Fable's been pretty good about those, but you still have to know what you're doing to really get the most out of the model.
sure.
Um, but the agent stuff was fantastic. And so what it did then is it had a 5-phase plan, I believe, and then I had it build a more detailed plan for each phase. So the original
Sure. Yeah.
outline was like some skeleton code and like kind of like check, typical like build plan kind of TRD kind of thing. And then I had to do it even go deeper. And
Mm.
so this little project ran for 20 hours.
Holy crap.
Thank you,
And
Anthropic,
yeah,
for
and this is your token maxing. This is your token maxing
yeah. Thank you,
stint.
Anthropic,
Yeah.
for rewriting my UI for me. No, this is not sponsored, and yes, I am
Yeah.
paying for an enterprise account. Um, but yeah, it ran for 20 hours. I don't know how many millions of tokens it used. It was ridiculous. It was like 10 million tokens or something like crazy. It was over a couple days, but yeah, it's great. Like um, it was a very large refactor with very complex, unusual UI. Like, this isn't making a
Mhm.
website. This isn't
Mm.
making,
Right, right.
a cooking app or something like pretty
Yeah,
well understood. I had built a proprietary, UI kind of thing. I don't think it's anything special, but it's like the vision of how I think it needs to work is not something I've seen elsewhere. And so I was like pretty impressed with it. Like we were talking a little bit. We usually pre-talk before we get
yeah,
on,
yeah, yeah.
and uh, we didn't really do that too much today for this, but uh, I I don't know that Opus couldn't do it, but I feel like it might have taken a lot longer and there would be more bugs. There's a few
Yes, and
bugs,
you
there's
would
a
probably,
few
yeah, you'd
weird
probably have to
artifacts,
correct it.
but
You'd have to be more hands-on with it, right? Yeah,
yeah.
to guide it. Yeah,
Yeah, so I really do think the agentic management tool use capabilities are very, very, very good. And I suspect that a lot of the marketing claims come from massively unlimited token budgets or like borderline unlimited
people
token
who, yeah,
budgets.
yeah, you just kind of sit there and keep swinging at it until it gets it done. Whereas someone who's not paying for that doesn't have that same
Exactly.
freedom.
Right.
Yeah,
And so, and that's interesting, right? So I guess like if you have, unlimited money and time and energy, everything's
yeah,
possible. Where this model seems to really excel and where a lot of AI models really excel is if they can just loop it indefinitely until it works and you give it a known working state, it'll do it.
right. And then that is one of the things that is taking off is people just saying run things in loops. This was
Yeah.
started early on. We talked a little bit about it about Ralph Wiggum loops and OpenClaw, but that's probably much more relevant now that we have smarter agents that fewer
Yeah.
loops, but still,
Well, and I think it's also like knowing which agents to spawn up, how to spawn them, how to instruct them. Like it did all this in the background for me. I didn't
yeah,
have to like before, and even still currently to some extent, I have to kind of plan the agent landscape, I guess.
sure.
Or when I'm encountering issues, I'll like have to build kind of agent
Yeah, yeah,
infrastructure.
yeah. Are you telling Fable to spawn subagents, or is it going and doing it off on its own for
No, I
you?
use spawn agent mode,
Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. All
which
right.
is like frowned upon because it's token maxing.
Yeah, yeah, right. I mean, before I hadn't seen it too common, but and I think it was Opus 4.5 that started to spawn agents on its own. But
Yeah.
before it was something that I would do manually, where I'd say like, oh, by the way, we have this prompt meant for this kind of agent.
Yeah.
Use that agent to do this.
What
Use this
in
agent to
in
do
the
that.
build plan, it'll specify like some personas or define like
Yeah.
sub-agent process, but it
Yeah.
doesn't
Okay.
really go into more detail than that, and I don't usually have to tell it. Uh, and I think it's the same for Opus because like Opus, I think you said it was like 4.6 or 4.7 was really
Yeah.
good at spawning agents, but I never really found it super useful, and I found it to just
Yeah.
kind of be more wasteful. Or if there was like a really hard problem, or like let's do a one-shot refactor and spin it up and see what
Mhm.
happens, and we know it's going to be kind of crappy, but it's going to be faster than trying to like do the work sort of thing.
Right.
So that's been pretty good. Uh I've been doing some other stuff with it, which is a lot more um hitting more on brainstorming and different contexts, and not context in the same way as you think about, you know, AI doing context stuff like uh don't want to talk about that. I don't know, I'm trying to think of something I can like talk about that isn't or that's released. Um doing two so what I did is I had it do an analysis of two different code repositories that are very, very different things, but I want them to
Mhm.
interact in a better way and use parts of one of the code bases and
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
features in
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
other
Right.
thing,
Okay.
but from like the outs. And we've talked about this offline, so I think you probably know what it is.
Mhm.
It and but it's a very abstract thing, and it's not, again, it's not falling into the pattern of I'm building a cooking app. It's a more of a novel software creation problem where it's I'm not inventing a new technology, but I'm doing things in ways that I've
Yeah, it'd be like
mostly
an
done.
something more like a software architect would have to consider, less so an
Right.
engineer,
Yeah,
but an
and that's
architect.
usually
Yeah.
where this stuff just totally falls flat for me. I'm
Yeah.
just like, yeah, it's like not even hard mode. I'm just like, let's just try it. And it did pretty well. I'm doing more with it tomorrow. I'm planning to do a lot of deep work on this to really see, and we'll have a better report next week. But
Nice.
it's not world ending. Like, don't fire your engineering team. But as we've been saying the whole time, if you have capable engineers who can really use these tools, you will get much, much, much more better results from this model than the other ones. And
Mhm.
I suspect it's going to be a pay per use model forever because it's quite expensive to run. And I guess my advice right now, and this could change in the future, is that I think the money spent for creating detailed work plans for other agents to execute on has been working really well for me, and I can see that as, uh, going forward, if you have to pay per use on the Fable models, that might
Mhm.
be a good way to token hack, where you don't have it do the implementation, you don't have it do the actual work, but you have it build you a very detailed plan. And I'll usually ask it something like, you know, whatever I'm doing, build a plan. I'll go through iteration if we need to, and then I'll say, you know, build a build plan for other agents to implement, just a
Yep.
sentence,
Exactly. Yeah.
and then it'll, you know, crunch it through and change it over. And those cost usually between $10 and $30 to generate, like token
If you're going by
cost.
per token, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
by
like actual
per yeah
cost.
API costs, yeah, API token
Um,
pricing, yeah,
so that sounds like a lot maybe for folks, but like, you know, if I had to do that for an hour and build my own like
yeah,
PRD, TRD, and then a bunch of instructions for how I would expect the shit to be done, like you're talking multiple hours probably of a human's time.
human labor, yeah,
Yeah. And
right,
so that's a really interesting, like for product people out there too, it might be better for prototyping, because you don't have to necessarily get into the weeds of the technical stuff, but the Mythos Fable class models are much better, from what I've been seeing in interpreting instructions for agents and making sure those agents stay grounded. And I've been experimenting with other different types of agents that I've been working with for a long time, and a lot of models that I've been working for a long time. And I see markedly better results using the Mythos Fable plans than something generated by the flagshipiest thinking models prior or current, I
right,
guess.
yeah, yeah, yeah. it makes sense, and I agree with that.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about it now. We talked a little bit about reasoning efforts, which probably goes down a deeper rabbit hole than we
Yep.
need to. But you had alluded to being able to eventually do the stuff that Fable was capable of with something like Opus 4.8, right? So an
Yeah.
alternative would be, depending on how they end up wanting to price Fable, if it's out of your range, you could
Yeah.
work with like Opus on a higher reasoning level, but
Or
focus more
Sonnet.
on the planning phases.
Oh, I
Yeah,
see
yeah,
what you're
just
saying. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
but focus more on the planning phase, right? Like
Yeah.
turn up
Yeah,
the reasoning or turn
and
up
a
the reasoning effort, and then yeah, exactly.
tokening hack or whatever, I
Right, right.
guess, for this too is, and it's weird that it's resource constrained, and that's what we're really talking about. But wait for this stuff to get really expensive about 3 to 6 months after IPO,
Yeah,
folks.
in a
Yeah.
bit. Yeah, yeah, in a bit. Yeah, it'll shoot up.
Um, oh yeah. But you could have Opus take a first shot at a plan or whatever your free model of choice is. Um, I mean, I guess it's just general work productivity hack, but
Workflow.
like,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. Workflow and process in general, right?
yeah,
So
if you have Sonnet and Opus, have Sonnet take a crack at whatever you're trying to do, give it to Opus, they make it better.
yeah.
Um, Haiku to Sonnet to Opus for Gemini, Flash to uh,
Pro.
Pro.
Yeah.
I don't talk about the other company.
I sure. Yeah.
I don't
Same, but
really
same
use
same idea.
non-US
Same idea.
models
Yeah, yeah.
for reasons, but I do use local models. That's a whole different use case, though. I'm not prompting with them. I mean, you prompt with them, but you don't like
Yeah.
I don't
You're
chat
not doing
with
anything.
them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and so you could do that. And so there is a world where I could see too where uh, I don't know what the actual numbers look on this, and it's impossible to like predict tokens. But if you did Opus, build a nice build plan, get it the way you want it, flip it over to Mythos, pay a few bucks to have it, betterized, it would probably be
Spruce it up.
cheaper.
Yeah.
I would assume that, for instead of a $10 to $30 plan, you're looking at, maybe 5 or 10 bucks.
Mm.
And it's interesting because like working in tech, budgets don't typically matter for this kind of stuff, right? And so I think a lot of people in tech who might be listening are like, well, what are you talking? Oh, well, we just have free
Wow.
tokens.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, most people don't, and most people have
Mm.
constraints, and most companies are not just jettisoning money out the window with the promise.
Right.
Because again, like if you're a coding company or you're an engineering company, you're building technology. Yes, the people doing that work can massive, massive improvements if you use it correctly, like any other technology. But to just like dump, Fable into an organization and just let people burn what I think it's like $10 per million in and $50 per
Yes.
million out. Like,
Yeah.
you could build a PowerPoint that was $7,000 pretty quick.
Yeah.
And so you have to ask, like, what is the return on that? Or how do we gate that? And so like every other industry, every other company uh, is looking at more resource constraints and how to get the best buck spent on AI stuff. And so that's a strategy. I'm not saying it's the strategy, but it is
Right.
a strategy.
Yeah. Yeah. ROI. Yeah.
Yeah.
AI ROI. Yeah.
AI ROI. Um,
AI ROI. Yeah.
but yeah, so the preview for, I guess, for folks, we didn't really talk about it. Again, it's not an ad, but they're previewing Fable and Mythos stuff for or through I believe it's June
June
22nd.
22nd. Yeah, that's right.
So if you want to go play with it, I don't know what plans you need to be on. It's on the website.
Mhm.
I if you're interested, go spend some money, I guess, try it out. I will say that that yeah, if you're unless you're knowingly doing really, really complex shit, then I would say don't go above high if you don't want to burn a bunch of tokens and
Yeah.
or your limit if you're on the plan.
Yeah.
Um,
Effort. Don't go above high
yeah,
effort.
effort.
Yeah. So
Yep.
again, the namings are really bad. There's like a pro plan, high max plan, then there's max effort, max high effort. Or yeah.
I know, and I mean, I so it's interesting because like I haven't really been I've been using a lot of Claude, but I don't typically use Claude Code. I use Google's Antigravity product. I've talked a little bit about it. I did a live stream with it
Mhm.
for reasons like I don't. Hmm. 3 days ago, I would not have said that it really matters,
Ah, yeah, yeah. Okay.
and I think the approach Google is taking with anti-gravity is very different than Claude Code. And
Yes.
Anthropic is giving you much more dials and switches. It's very much more engineering driven. Like obviously they're focusing on code, kind of makes sense for the, non-technical so-called average person. Like they're like, I don't know what to do with this.
Mhm.
Even I struggle with it. Like I've been using a terminal for well over 20 years. And I'm like, I hate it. Every time I'm in it, I'm
Yeah.
like, I hate this. This is not like, I'm not on a mainframe. It's
Yeah.
2026. Like, give me a crappy UI. I don't really
Yeah.
care. But we're talking a little bit about some I may probably release that thing. Anyway, um, whereas anti-gravity, I really like the more Google Doc feel of building
Mhm.
plans,
I do think
editing,
it's the yeah,
commenting
yeah.
back, and
It's a good
that
way of
kind of
doing it.
stuff is awesome. They have the
Yeah.
interface on lockdown. Gemini Flash is great for coding for the most part. 3.5 has been really good. Not nearly as good as the Anthropic models, in my opinion, and from what I've
Agreed.
seen. Like it does really good for web stuff. I'll give it that. Like it pretty much nails it
Ah,
most of the
interesting.
time. But
Okay.
any kind of back end stuff, it'll crush it or it'll sit there and loop for like 20 minutes. Like I have a simple example, right? I had a project that I won't talk about, but I have just a simple administrative interface with a hard coded password. Like, don't do that. But for this, it's fine because doesn't
Sure.
really matter.
Yeah.
And it's just a little layer of security to make sure you just can't get in and like change stuff. And I needed to change. I forgot what it was. So I was like, "Can you please change the password?" Right? It should be really easy. It's in the database. It's encrypted. But I don't wanna, like, fire it up and, like, do it, right?
Yeah.
It would take me a couple minutes. Well, it took it, like, 10 minutes for it to figure out what the hell I
Yeah.
meant by, like, administrator password, and I was like, "What?"
Yeah.
It's a very simple web thing, and so I was really
Funny.
disappointed by that, but then sometimes it crushes it, and so, like, maybe it'll get better. I think it is technically in preview, but Claude models have done much better. I will say that I think Fable is a better model. Fable is better at agent swarm management, and I
Mhm.
think the Claude code harness, and harness is how you interact with the model, is much more
It's geared
adept
toward that. Yeah.
at agentic
For that. Yeah, I agree
building.
with that. Right. Yep.
And I don't use the other company, so I can't really comment on that. Um, I've heard it's decent. Like they're I guess all three of them are actually quite good.
Yeah.
I would say Google feels like they're falling behind a little bit more. Like it's an AI race. So like tomorrow they could be ahead of everyone by 10 points or so. So,
Yeah.
and the synthetic benchmarks don't matter. Like nothing
Right.
we're talking about, like this is all real world. Like I'm writing real code that's going out to the real world and doing real stuff. I do other stuff with code or other than code stuff. Maybe we should talk about that too. Like I've been using Fable for um what I don't know, consider product work, I guess. Like
Well, yeah, I mean, I was
non-coding
using it
stuff.
yeah, yeah, I was using it for electrical engineering and architecture, so
Yeah.
it's so totally different than coding.
Yeah.
But, I
It's been
mean,
doing
it
well.
leverages coding, but yeah, yeah, right.
Yeah. And I will say been much less impressed with like that kind of stuff than the
Mhm.
coding stuff. And I don't know, maybe it's because I haven't given it enough, but like I'll do similar things with like Gemini Pro
Mhm.
3.5
Yeah,
thinking or whatever. It's the latest one. And I get much better results. Like if I'm building a feature, I'm thinking about something, I'll have it go do research, I'll have it go do, market analysis,
yep,
pricing, like all that kind of producty stuff. I'll have it kind of do a one shot. And then I'll use my brain and I'll read it, and then I'll use that as a basis of going to do deeper research myself. It's the idea of using Wikipedia to get started on doing research. Like
yeah,
Wikipedia,
yeah,
terrible source of information, but it's a really great source to get you started or to get you familiarized with something you might not be familiar with, and as a jumping off point. So I haven't been overly impressed with that, and I don't think that it's really designed to do that. They have made claims that for doing like heavy science and that kind of stuff, it's much better at reasoning, but I haven't done that
I
yet.
have used Fable to pull a bomb, a bill of materials and it's been decent at that, to be honest. Like,
Yeah.
it was able to so the one thing it didn't do well was knowing what, items were obsoleted. So like
Yeah.
intellectual engineering, for instance, you build a bill of materials and you go and you find what
Yeah.
part goes where.
Please don't try to
It
build a bomb with Fable.
Oh,
I know
I
what
should
you meant as soon as
I
you
should
said it, and I was just like,
bill of materials, BOM.
yeah,
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 it did go out and pull like parts from DigiKey and Mouser, which are some hardware
yeah, yeah.
providers. It didn't notice that some of the parts were obsoleted; they weren't being sold anymore. So it was
Oh,
like pulling
interesting.
data sheets from obsoleted models, and I actually don't do
Yeah.
that.
I will say
So
Gemini does an amazing job
okay, yeah,
of doing that kind of stuff, and, like, it has a thinking cutoff, so all the models were trained on information to a date. Google has done a phenomenal job of figuring out how to get around those problems
yeah, yeah,
and
web
giving you
searches
fresh
and stuff. Yeah,
information.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Right.
Um, but yeah, I I'm gonna really get into the weeds tomorrow with incredibly complex data science and possibly maths with it and like
Okay.
algorithms and like really well if there's that product
Okay.
that I've been kind of toying with for a long
Okay. Okay. Okay.
time.
I'm excited then because
And
I've been
we're
pushing
gonna
you.
one shot
I'm gonna,
rewrite the whole thing.
okay. I've been pushing you on that a little bit, so I kind of want to see where you go with it. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. And I have a lot of really interesting so I guess I try to give people a little bit of context. I have a thing I've been working on for it's kind of on and off for a while, but it's I'm building an AI agentic system to do stuff. It'll be out in the next month or so. Um,
Ooh.
yeah, it's basically ready. I didn't tell you that. I like kind of one shotted it with Opus something model
Okay. Okay.
and did like good enough. Like it's
Okay. Good.
really rough, but it works, and
Yeah.
that's
Yeah. Okay.
fine
Interesting.
with me, right? But yeah, so it's a lot of actual AI work, not just like using a model and chat and like this kind of stuff. We're actually building pretty deep infrastructure, doing a lot of model grounding, a little bit of training. I'm not building a custom model yet, but I will be. And so I'm building a lot of those pathways to like make sure that the data that I
Really.
need in the future will be there, kind of stuff. So it's a little bit out of like, I don't know, it's a little bit weird of a project right now, but it all makes sense in the future. Um, but yeah, so we'll see how it. I'll be really interested to see how it actually handles like really hard nascent
Yeah. Me too.
frontier
Me too.
edge
Actually. Yeah.
stuff because it's going to be. I think we're gonna need more tokens. That's the moral of the story. Buy
Yeah.
more tokens. That's what they want. That's
Don't
what
say
they
that.
want. They want you to buy more tokens because then they're going to make them more
They're gonna
expensive.
call us AI shills. They're gonna call us
Yeah.
AI shills.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think I don't know if I have too much more to say other than I think next week we can recap if anything changes. Like I'm building with AI over 12 hours a day now at this point with Fable and other
Yeah.
stuff
Just letting it
too.
go.
But
Right.
I'm in full grind. I'm testing it out as much as I can. I have a couple things I'm trying to get over the finish line too. So it's kind of a nice like deadline to just get it
Nice
done.
timing. Right. 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 Yeah.
Um, yeah, so we'll see. Any
Yeah.
other closing thoughts?
Really quickly, we were talking about Fable. I think one of the things I found interesting, this is like outside of like use of Fable, but you had mentioned that you asked it to do a security audit of your app, and it said, "Hey, you can't do that," right? There's been a bit of controversy around that
Yeah.
element of Anthropic basically telling you that you can't use their tool for whatever
You're
reason,
not
right?
my
So I think
mom.
I mean, besides that point, I think it's an interesting
Yeah.
throwback to there was a spat between the government and Anthropic, and I think part of that was the government was claiming or saying that Anthropic shouldn't be able to tell its users what it can and cannot do.
Right.
So we saw a little bit of that here, where I don't know that many people caught on to it, but it's an eye-opening experience, right? When you're trying to use the tool and all of a sudden it says,
Yeah.
"Hey, you can't do this. I'm not going to let you do it." You're like, "Wait, I paid for it. Why can't I do that
Well, and
specifically?"
this
Like
is precisely I'm trying to find the actual
Yeah. Well, the thing is,
Screenshot of
like,
it.
not that it happened, right? That's one element, but I think the interesting thing to think about in spirit of, what we'd like to do with Thread is critically
Yeah.
thinking about, like, if you were Anthropic, how would you handle this situation if you knew that or say you knew hypothetically that you had a model
Yeah.
that could be dangerous if it was used the wrong way?
Well, I know
How would
exactly how I
you
do it, but they don't pay me enough to talk about that publicly.
I'm
For the
not.
record, they don't pay me at all.
It's a rhetorical question for
Yeah.
those who are listening. Think about what that would look like, and there's arguments for both sides to me, and I think, but I just think it's not as clear cut as like, oh, just because you control the technology doesn't necessarily mean you tell people what to do with it, versus having access to powerful technology and then not letting people do certain things with it.
Well, and this is the first time that, you know, I don't wanna say powerful technology, but, um, a technology that, has a lot of capability to be used in ways, hasn't been exclusively controlled. And so it's like, it's kinda similar to, like, I guess, like, I might have said I've worked in medicine before. Most of the pills and stuff you get from a doctor or from a pharmacy are, like, not really that complex, and they're,
Yeah,
like,
they're cheap to make too. Yeah.
fairly easy to make if you have the right raw materials. Um, so it's like, in a sense, it's just gated knowledge, right? It's like the only thing preventing you from doing that, and, like, anybody who's old enough to remember the whole meth thing and, pseudophylline, is it pseudophylline, which is the main ingredient
I don't know what
in
you're referring to.
Sudafed? You can make meth with it because the molecule that's in
Oh,
Sudafed, and this is well known, this isn't secret knowledge, but it's well known. But it's very chemically similar to, methamphetamine,
methamphetamine.
and
Yeah,
you
yeah.
can refine that to make it methier or something. Don't do that.
Right,
But
right.
it's
Yeah,
and that's why
it's
it's
also
a
reminiscent.
controlled, right? You have to
Yeah,
go
it's
sign up
reminiscent of a
and yeah,
nuclear being able to create a nuclear bomb. You can use nuclear energy for clean energy purposes, but that's
right.
one track, or it's on the track towards being able to build a nuclear
Yeah,
weapon, right?
and
So
and
it's
so
like,
the way that, well, my point is the way that we've gated these problems is that unless you have a really high understanding of chemistry, you can't do it. And, like, yes,
mm.
if you Google around enough, you probably find it online. Like, I mean, it's they tried it. Yeah, but I mean, but this is the problem. Nobody wants to talk about it. And the reality is, like, it's this specific problem is well known and understood. And so the
Mm.
control system we had was, don't let people know. Well, people figured it out and or used chemistry, wrote about it, and then people started making it. And then we said, okay, we need an effort control method. And so the standard practice is to then make the raw materials or the source ingredients much harder. In this case,
Mm.
Sudafed is something that's very wonderful if you have a congestion.
Over the
And
counter
I'm
kind of
also
thing.
thinking about it because I have it because I'm like really congested, but it's a great, sinus congestion reliever. It's also
Mm.
a terrible drug in a lot of other ways. Like, it's not good for you to take it, but in small doses to relieve congestion, most people it's fine. Talk to your doctor. But so we've gated that material and we've said, okay, well, people can abuse this, but we're going to allow them to buy Sudafed and take it. We're just going to more tightly control how much you're buying. And that's why
Mm.
if you've bought anything like this in the past, like, you typically don't need a prescription. Some states you do, but I have to go give them my photo ID and driver's license, and they record it and it goes into a database. And, uh, I guess if I bought a bunch more, someone's going to come talk to me and be like, what the hell, how stuffy are you? Like, and that's to prevent people from, making meth with it. And I think that's fine. I am not condoning making meth, but with AI, you just, as you were saying, like, how do you gate that? And so theoretically, AI has this knowledge because it understands chemistry and it probably soaked up a bunch of shit on the internet about how to do all sorts of crazy shit. And so then it's a question of how do you solve that problem? And what was interesting is I don't have my screen share up, but I found the message and I asked it to just do a very mundane security thing. Check my code and make sure there's nothing wrong that could be exploited, right? That's very standard software security practice. And then I got a nice yellow label saying Fable 5 safety measures flag this message for cybersecurity or biology topics. They may flag safe, normal content as well. Well, that's your fucking problem.
Yeah.
These measures let us bring you Mythos class capability in other areas sooner, and we're working to refine them. Please tell me the PR person didn't write this. Switch to Opus 4.8, send feedback with blah, blah, blah. And then what it does is it just turfs that request to Opus 4.8. The interesting thing was I was able to do the exact same thing I was trying to do with it in other contexts. And I'm not going to talk about that because I don't want to put out how to I didn't intentionally go around safety measures, but I was able to do it, I guess. It was good.
Yeah.
It found some really good shit that the other models hadn't found. And it did, and we patched it. Awesome. That's all I'll say about that.
All right. Okay. Well, we'll see you all next week.
Yeah, we'll have a